digital marketing is the biggest thing you have to be switched on to for early days for an artist, because that is your main point of discovery. If I'm going to take 2 grand, for example, and I've got one place to invest that, I'm going to invest that into digital marketing, because in 2020, it's the only place somebody's going to find you. Yes, we'll do live things, we'll do all of these things in the future, but digital marketing, so have a really strong plan about, for us, focusing on Instagram as a big platform for us and Facebook. I think it's very different with something like Twitter, because the time it takes a tweet to disappear is so quick that you have to invest quite a lot before, or we found anyways, before it's worth doing that. And again, with TikTok, I feel the same. There's a lot of people do influencer marketing on there, which is its own, new thing. We believe very heavily that DSPs are very, very important in the early days, because now radio do look at the streaming numbers. So if we want to get radio, the first thing they're going to do is go, well, this music will be on a platform, so let's go and see how it's doing. You guys would do that if you were looking at an artist or someone, you go and see the backstory. So we pitch to the DSPs ourselves, and, we then plot out the digital marketing. For us, we brought on a radio plugger from the start, which it's not something we would necessarily do for all artists, but we strongly felt her music was radio friendly. From the word go, we got BBC introducing plays, and she's actually had some rotation in Europe, which is brilliant. So it's about being reactive, because not every artist's music is going to be radio friendly, and certainly not in the early days. So you don't want to spend on a radio plugger if it's going to be a waste of time for the first EP. So I would say it's a bit of everything, but it's using your common sense to go, well, where is the main place she's likely to be discovered? And that's where we'll put the money. For the first single, we want to feed Oz out to similar artists. We sit down and we say, who does your music sound like, even if it's not bang on, and who is very commercially successful, and who is in the middle of that, because you're going to attract fans from everywhere. So don't just pigeonhole it to Lana Del Rey because she's massive, or Billie Eilish because she's massive. Pigeonhole it with smaller artists as well. So that's what we did, and we came up with content from Olivia directly. Yes, we cut things from the music video visualizers, but we also said, well, what will people want to see? And, acapellas we find kind of engage really well. So just her doing a small acapella of the tune or playing it on acoustic guitar. And then we kind of link that into the real song at the end. Like, that's proven to be a really good advert. And then once we put them out, we run them for about 10 days. Anything less than that isn't really enough time for people to latch onto it. So 10 days plus. And then we look at the statistics. You can do that at any window in those 10 days. You can say, well, Lana Del Rey fans actually aren't really switching onto this, so let's maybe change that demographic and put something else in there. Or that video doesn't seem to be doing well, so let's upload something else. And you've just got to be on the statistics. I'm not the world's greatest at digital marketing, and I'm fortunate that we've got other people that help us with that as well in-house. But it's also not hard. If you haven't got that access, just look at what fans are actually saying, because that's what your statistics are. If the fan isn't engaging, that is all you need to know. Change it up somehow and go back in another day or two and have a look at it again. And I do think emerging artists often have no budget or are willing to spend their own money, and it's not very much. I think it's easy for someone to go, I could put some ads on, and it sort of recommends what you might get result-wise. Or I could spend this little bit of money on an influencer who has 100,000 followers. I can see why an emerging artist would be attracted to that. But again, it goes back to the fact of, if an influencer markets anything, then how is it right for your brand? And it's always got to be your brand and what's right for you. It is the DIY way of doing it. As you said before, build it yourself, keep the statistics, because over time, everything grows. We're only on the second single with Oz, and we're seeing the streams fly earlier than the first single. Of course, that's what we would expect. We're seeing the playlist support grow, but more importantly, the digital marketing. We've got the stats from the ads in the last single, and it's just all about building. And, I'm excited now about the next 2 singles, because I can see how this one's built. And I know that with another 2 and the EP release, it's just going to keep going. And you've done that all on your own as well. And it's exciting, and you can just use it to keep building, which is the most important thing.